Look at this land in the middle of summer. The soil is cracked, dusty, and looks completely dead. Most people would say one thing: nothing can grow here without constant watering, but the Amish see this exact land and grow food on it anyway. No hoses, no irrigation systems, not even daily watering, because they don't try to add more water. They stop the soil from losing it in the first place. That is what makes Amish gardening so fascinating, because when people first hear it, it sounds impossible. Dry land, hot sun, hard soil, and still the Amish pull food out of it, not by forcing the land, not by throwing money at it, not by using some modern system most people cannot afford. The Amish do it with plain thinking, patient work, and a deep understanding of how soil really behaves. And if you enjoy this kind of simple, useful gardening wisdom, take 1 second to like, comment, and share. It helps more than you know. Now here is what most people miss. When the Amish look at dry ground, they do not only see dryness. They ask a different question. Why is this soil losing moisture so fast? That question changes everything. Because a lot of people think gardening success comes from adding more and more water, but Amish growers often focus on keeping the water that is already there. That is a very different mindset, and in frugal gardening, that mindset matters more than almost anything else. The Amish know that bare soil is weak soil in summer. Leave dirt open under a hot sun and it starts giving up moisture almost right away. The sun beats down, the wind moves across it, the top turns hot, then hard, then crusty. And once that happens, even a good rain does not always help the way people think it should. Some of it runs off, some of it disappears fast, and the rest never stays long enough to truly help the roots. Amish gardeners understand this. So instead of leaving the land naked, they protect it. That is one of the biggest Amish secrets. Not a secret product, not a secret machine, just cover. Plain, ordinary cover. Straw, old hay if it is clean. Dry leaves, light grass clippings, plant leftovers. The Amish often use what they already have close by. That is what makes Amish gardening so practical. It is not built around spending. It is built around using simple things well. And once that layer goes over the ground, everything starts changing. The soil below stays cooler. It stays calmer. It holds moisture longer. The sun no longer beats directly on the surface. The wind no longer steals from it so easily. The top does not crust as fast. And under that cover, the earth slowly starts acting alive again. That matters more than people realize, because Amish growers are not just trying to grow a plant. They are trying to build a living layer of soil that can carry a crop through hard weather. That is why the Amish often seem to get results from land other people would give up on. They are not fighting the ground every day. They are teaching it to work better. And that brings us to something that is even more important. Dry-looking soil is not always dry where it matters. The Amish know better than to judge a field by the top inch alone. A dusty surface can fool you. Underneath, there may still be cool moisture. There may still be life. There may still be enough for roots to keep going. A lot of modern gardeners panic too fast. They see the top looking pale and thirsty, and they start watering right away. But Amish growers often think deeper. They want to know what is happening below the surface, because that is where the roots are feeding. That is where the crop survives. That is where the real story is. This old Amish way of thinking can save a gardener from a lot of wasted effort. Because when you stop reacting to every dry-looking surface, you start making better decisions. You stop watering out of fear. You start reading the soil with more calm. And calm is one of the quiet strengths of Amish gardening. Now there is another piece of this that matters just as much. The Amish do not expect weak soil to suddenly behave like rich soil. They build it. Year by year, season by season, one layer at a time. That means compost. That means aged manure. That means rotted leaves. That means whatever honest organic matter they can return to the land. To the Amish, that dark material is not waste. It is wealth. Because rich soil does not just feed plants. It holds water. It acts more like a sponge. It gives roots space. It keeps the ground from turning into a hard, lifeless slab. And when the next dry spell comes, that deeper, darker Amish-built soil can often hold on much longer than poor soil beside it. That is something many people learn the hard way. They blame the weather. But sometimes the real problem is not the weather. It is that the soil was never prepared to keep the blessing it received. The Amish understand that every rain is valuable, so they try to make the ground worthy of holding it. That is real frugal gardening, not just using less water, making better use of the water you already get. There is also a lesson here about roots, and this may be one of the most valuable lessons in the whole video. A lot of gardeners water too often and too lightly, just enough to wet the top, just enough to make the surface look better, but that trains roots to stay close to the top, and the top is where the trouble begins. That is where the heat is strongest. That is where drying happens first. That is where plants become needy. The Amish way is often different. When water is needed, Amish growers tend to favor deeper help, not constant little sips. That encourages roots to travel down. And once roots go down, the plant becomes steadier, more independent, less fragile, more able to ride through heat. That is why some Amish gardens seem so calm in tough weather. The plants were not trained to beg every day. They were trained to search. That one shift alone can change the whole tone of a garden, and it teaches something deeper too. The Amish way is not about making plants comfortable every minute. It is about making them stronger for the season ahead. That is a big difference, and older gardeners especially understand the value of that kind of thinking. Now let's talk about timing, because the Amish pay attention to timing in a way many people do not. Amish growers do not always plant by convenience. They plant with the season in mind. They use spring moisture. They watch for good rain. They try to give seeds and young plants a fair start before the harshest heat sets in. That matters more than many people think. If you plant too late into hot, dry ground, you are asking a young plant to survive a hard beginning. But if you plant when the earth still carries some stored moisture, the crop can establish before the stress arrives. The Amish have long understood this. Start right, and the plant has a chance. Start wrong, and you spend the rest of the season trying to rescue it. And rescue gardening is expensive, not always in money, but in time, energy, and disappointment. Amish gardening tries to avoid that. It tries to set the stage well from the beginning. There is also spacing. This is simple, but powerful. Many people crowd plants because they want more food from less room. That sounds sensible. But in dry conditions, crowded plants often fight each other underground. Too many roots in one place means faster moisture loss, more stress, more competition, and smaller results. Amish growers usually understand that room matters. A properly spaced crop can root better, breathe better, and use what moisture is there more wisely. That means fewer plants sometimes, but often better harvests. That is another Amish habit worth learning from. They do not always chase more at the start. They think about what will hold up by the middle and end. That is a wiser way to garden, and it is often the more frugal way too. Now here is something many viewers will appreciate because it is so practical. The shape of the land matters. Amish growers know that flat ground is not always helpful in dry weather. Sometimes the Amish use shallow basins, sometimes furrows, sometimes planting rows shaped to catch and guide rainfall. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, just small changes that help water slow down and sink in where it is needed. That means even a modest rain can become more useful. Instead of running off, it stays. Instead of vanishing, it works. This is one of the beauties of Amish gardening. It respects small gains. The Amish do not laugh at a little rain. They do not waste dew. They do not ignore what a cool night can do. They know that in a good system, little bits of moisture matter. And when the soil is mulched, dark, and built with organic matter, even a small blessing can go farther than you expect. That is where ordinary people start seeing unusual results. Now let's bring in another part that often gets overlooked. Wind. Hot wind can dry a garden fast, faster than many people realize. The Amish understand this very well. That is why Amish gardens often have some kind of protection. A fence, a hedge, a row of taller crops, a building nearby. Something that breaks the force of dry summer wind. Because when the wind slows, the loss slows too. Leaves lose less. Soil loses less. The whole garden stays gentler. This is old wisdom, quiet wisdom, and it works. Sometimes people spend years thinking their garden needs more water, when what it really needs is more shelter. That is the kind of practical adjustment Amish growers are good at seeing. And then there is crop choice. This is where frugal gardening becomes honest. The Amish are practical people. They know not every crop belongs everywhere. Some plants can handle dry spells better than others. Some spread shade over their own roots. Some dig deep. Some just know how to survive. The Amish often lean toward crops that match the land better. Beans can surprise you. Potatoes can do better than people expect in good soil. Squash can shade the ground with those wide leaves. Melons can search. Sweet potatoes can be resilient. Corn, planted well and timed right, can reach deeper moisture if the soil has been built properly. The Amish do not always try to force delicate crops to behave like tough ones, and that is a lesson many home gardeners need. Sometimes success is not about trying harder. Sometimes it is about choosing wiser. Now I want to pause on one important point. When people say the Amish grow food without water, that phrase can be misleading if we do not explain it right. The Amish are not creating crops out of pure dryness. They are not growing vegetables in a miracle field with no moisture at all. What they are doing is far more believable and far more useful. They are growing food without depending on constant watering. That is the real lesson. The Amish rely on stored rain, protected soil, deep roots, mulch, good timing, good choices, healthy ground. That is the truth behind the story. And honestly, that truth is better than the myth, because it means ordinary gardeners can learn from it. You do not need a fantasy. You need a system. And Amish gardening offers exactly that. Now here is another Amish habit that helps more than people think. They do not disturb the soil any more than necessary. Once good structure starts forming, they try not to destroy it. Because when you keep turning hot soil over and over, you expose hidden moisture. You break apart the channels that roots and worms created. You invite the sun in deeper, and you lose what the ground was trying to save. The Amish often understand the value of leaving well enough alone. Add to the top, cover the surface, let life work below. That patience builds stronger soil over time. And strong soil is one of the greatest savings a garden can ever have. Let's talk about weeds too, because weeds in dry weather are not just an annoyance. They are competition, real competition. They drink, they spread, they steal space and light and moisture. The Amish do not usually let weeds get comfortable. They deal with them early. Small weeds are easy. Large weeds are expensive. That is true in labor, and it is true in moisture loss. A clean garden bed keeps more for the crop you actually want. That sounds simple, but simple is often where the Amish are strongest. Small actions at the right time, no drama, no waste, just staying ahead of problems before they grow teeth. Another thing Amish growers tend to do well is observe without panicking. This matters more than ever in hot weather. A plant may droop a little in the afternoon and still recover beautifully by evening. That does not always mean disaster. That does not always mean it needs immediate watering. The Amish way often includes more watching and less reacting. Feel the soil under the mulch. Check the morning condition. See how the plant responds when the day cools. That kind of patience builds judgment. And judgment is one of the greatest tools any gardener can have. A nervous gardener uses water too quickly. An observant gardener uses it wisely. The Amish know the difference. And maybe that is why Amish gardens often feel steadier. There is less panic in them, less guessing, more understanding. That kind of calm is powerful, especially in dry seasons. Now, if you are sitting there thinking, this all sounds good, but maybe it only works on a big Amish homestead, here is the encouraging truth. You can use these Amish ideas in a small backyard, a side bed, a few rows, a little patch by the porch. You do not need hundreds of acres to garden more wisely. You just need to stop exposing the soil, start feeding it, plant with thought, space with care, pull weeds early, use mulch generously, choose crops that suit your climate, and try to make the land keep more of what it receives. That is Amish thinking, and it scales down beautifully. One bed can teach you a lot. 2 seasons can teach you even more. By the 3rd season, you may look at your own garden and realize it is holding on better than it ever did before. That is when this stops being a nice idea and becomes real value. And there is something deeply comforting about that. Because the Amish approach reminds people that not every problem has to be solved with spending. Sometimes it is solved with understanding. Sometimes it is solved with patience. Sometimes it is solved by returning to common sense. Cover the ground, feed the earth, respect the season. Do not waste what nature already gave you. That message lands with people because it feels true and it feels doable, especially in a time when so many people are tired of being told they need one more product to make simple things work. The Amish remind us that the land still responds to old wisdom, and maybe that is why this subject captures people so strongly. On the surface, it sounds like a story about the Amish growing food in dry soil. But underneath, it is really a story about thrift, about steadiness, about not panicking when conditions get hard, about building something that can endure. That reaches beyond gardening. That reaches into the way many people want to live. And maybe that is the greatest value in all of this. The Amish do not just grow vegetables. They show what happens when people stop trying to overpower nature and start working with it. So the next time you see cracked ground in summer, do not ask only how much water it needs. Ask what the soil is missing. Ask how fast it is losing what it has. Ask whether it is protected. Ask whether it has enough organic matter to hold moisture. Ask whether the roots have been trained to go deeper. Ask whether the crops fit the conditions. Ask whether the land has been given a real chance. Those are Amish questions, and they lead to better answers. The next time somebody says, the Amish grow food in dead dry soil without water, you will know what they are really seeing. They are seeing Amish mulch over bare dirt, Amish patience over panic, Amish soil building over surface watering, Amish thrift over waste, Amish timing over struggle, Amish common sense doing what common sense has always done, quietly winning. And that is why this matters, because once you understand the Amish method, you stop chasing miracles. You start building resilience. You start creating a garden that holds on, a garden that stays cooler, a garden that wastes less, a garden that bends in hard weather instead of breaking. That is the kind of garden most people truly want. Not flashy, not fussy, just faithful. And if you can bring even a little of that Amish wisdom into your own space, the results may surprise you. The soil may stay softer, the plants may stay steadier, the hose may stay put more often, and little by little, the ground that once looked tired may start giving back again. That is real value. That is frugal gardening at its best. And that is why the Amish way still has so much to teach us. If this video gave you something useful, please subscribe, share it with someone who loves simple gardening, and leave a comment below. Thank you for watching.